What's up with the Halifax real estate market? Now, that's a tough question to answer in just a few short sentences, but in short, in 2022, the market has been crazy, it's been interesting, it's been a lot of things. So today I'm going to break that down for you, year-to-date stats from January 1st to October 1st, 2022. And I'm not only going to talk about the statistics themselves, I'm going to talk about, real life, how it's affected the process of buying a home or selling a home here in the Halifax real estate market. So getting right into it, so far this year we've had just over 4,500 sales in HRM, which is down 24.8% from this time last year. And these sales have sold for an average of just over $545,000, which is actually still up over last year, 17.7%. And the average time on market this year for listings that are selling is about 15 days, which is actually down 8 days from this time last year. Now, before I get into some more stats and kind of what all this means to you if you're looking to buy or sell a home, if you like this content and you want to see more, please click the like and subscribe to my channel. I post videos every week on YouTube about the Halifax real estate market and buyer and seller tips. Also, if you want to book a call or a meeting with me, you can do so anytime in the Calendly link below in the description at a time when it's convenient for you. So in short, to sum all that info up for you, in 2022, we're selling less houses for more money in a quicker time frame than we were this time last year in 2021. Now I'm going to break this down even further, and I'm going to talk about a little bit more stats as well, that I think really tell the tale of what has been happening here in Halifax this year. So right now we have about 834 homes for sale in the HRM, and that equates to about 2.18 months of listing inventory. Now, if I look back to June, this is double what we had in June, and it's about 4 times what we had in March. So in other words, right now there's a lot more on the market for buyers to look at. I would also say that based on my experience out there working day to day, there's a lot less buyers in the market. So I think that's a byproduct of, big interest rate hikes. We're talking, the price points we were seeing kind of push some people out of the market as well. So I think that's a big reason why we have a lot less buyers. And now the few buyers that we do have left that are active and serious, they have a lot more to look at than they did in June or back in the spring and March. The biggest stat that I see that I feel is really, really important for people to understand and know is the difference between the price point average in the first quarter this year versus the third quarter this year. So in first quarter, we had an average price point of about $578,000. In the third quarter, this came down to about $488,000. So a $90,000 difference, which equates to about a 15% price drop since the first quarter this year. Now, at the end of 2021, in December, we were averaging right around $460,000 on average at that time. So right now, we're starting to creep down toward that number that we ended the year for 2021 at. And if I'm looking at price per square foot, this has also dropped quite a bit from, the peak in March, April to now in September. So in March and April, the average price per square foot in HRM was about $423 per square foot. And now that's dropped to about $343 per square foot in September. So again, that has dropped off quite a bit as well. Now, if you bought a home in April at the peak of the market, should you be worried? My answer to that really depends. It depends on what you're doing. So if you're trying to sell right now, obviously that's going to create some problems for you financially. But the reality is, if you're holding this place for 3 to 5 years, like most people are in real estate or longer, I really don't think you're going to be worried about it. So, the reality is the market has coming back to reality quite a bit this year since the peak. But if you're not selling right now, who cares, right? It only matters when you're going to sell. So the full potential of that investment that you have bought in the peak in April or March, give or take, it's really only going to be realized when you go to sell. So, even if it sells for the same price you bought it for in 5 years from now, you still have a lot of equity built up in that home that you've paid down off the mortgage under that 5-year period. Now, to give you some good news, if I'm looking at just September 2022 versus September 2021, the average price point's up year over year about 7%. So that's a great sign in the grand scheme of things going forward. And on top of that, if I look at the price point in September at $517,000 on average, that's actually up from July and August. So July was about $501,000 and August was only $466,000. So to me, that says that we might be stabilizing here and we're coming down from the peak, but I think we're getting close to the lower end of that trough of where this dip is going to take us. But again, only time will tell. So moving on to another stat that I find quite interesting would be the number of showings on average per listing. So in September 2022, there were an average of 5.7 showings per active listing, and that's down over 50% from September 2021, which we were at about 11.8 showings per listing. Now, This makes sense. Back in September last year, the market was booming, rates were low, there were a ton of buyers, there was very low inventory, so we were seeing a ton of showings on our listings. And to put this into context, in January and February, we were at about 23 showings per active listing. And again, this makes sense. We had less than a month's worth of inventory. The market was crazy. I know our listings at that time of year were getting about 30, 40, and sometimes even 50 or more showings every time we listed a new listing. And we actually had a townhouse in Clayton Park that had over 125 viewings in less than 5 days back in January. So again, that was a crazy time in the market. It was a huge, huge peak. And really we've been coming back to reality since then. So showings have tapered off tremendously since the peak. And the last stat that I'm going to talk about is sale to list price ratio. So basically this means what is it listed at and where is it selling? So if it's listed at 200 grand and it sells for 200 grand, that would be 100% of the sale to list price ratio. So this peaked in March at almost 125% of the list price. And in September 2022, we were at about 99.7%. So almost 100%, which is still fantastic. And this really isn't surprising to me because the strategy of how you list a house and how you're selling a home has totally changed since the peak. At the height of the market, as most of you guys know, we were listing properties way under what we felt they were worth to create that bidding war and to create, a frenzy and get multiple offers on our listing. So in other words, at a certain point, most people were listing about $100,000 under what they felt market value was. So that sale to list price ratio is a little bit skewed in a way because it's not really showing, it wasn't listed at market value and sold 125% over top of that. It was listed, way under market value and then sold for what it would be considered as a market value. But now, with everything slowing down, we're not getting the multiple bids that we used to get, and most listings are listing kind of at market value or a little higher, almost like the old way that we used to see back when the market wasn't so crazy. And now, we're seeing a lot of sales at full price or slightly under or maybe slightly over in some cases. And I know the $300,000 to $500,000 range is still very, very hot. And sometimes we're seeing multiple offers in those kinds of ranges, but a lot of times in the prices that are, 500 to $1 million or higher, we're not seeing the multiple offers that we were 6, 8, or 12 months ago. So with all that being said, where do I see things going from here? Well, I feel like we hit the peak in April and we've been dropping kind of ever since. And I feel like in the last 30 days or 45 days, it really does feel like we're starting to stabilize in the Halifax real estate market, but only time will tell. I do think there's another big rate hike increase coming in October as well, so that might slow us down a little bit more. In terms of where I see us ending the year, I mean, right now we're up 17.7% on average year over year in terms of price. Now, a lot of that's being carried by those first 4 months of the year because the prices were so high at that time, and really, the prices are lower than what the average for the year is now in the last couple months. But reasonably speaking, I think that we're kind of hitting, that lower point of where we're going to go in terms of this dip. And I think that we're probably going to end the year somewhere relatively where we're at now, maybe around 15 to 18% up over last year of $460,000 price point. Remember, since 1980, there's only been 1 year in the Halifax-Dartmouth region that price points on average as a whole in HRM have decreased year over year. Now, I think we're probably heading towards another year like that in 2023. I just really think that at this point, if I had to say, I think prices will be down next year overall year to date for the whole year in 2023 versus the whole year in 2022. And yes, we've never really had a drop like this, but we've never really had these price increases like this either. In 2020, we were up about 14.8% year over year. In 2021, we were up 25.6% year over year. And now this year, we're up almost 18% again year over year. Now, to put this into context of how crazy this is, since 1980 in the Halifax-Dartmouth region, we've only had 4 years where we've had double-digit price increases. And from the years 1985 to 2002, we only had 1 double-digit price increase. So again, we've never seen a drop like this, but we've definitely never seen price increases like this either. So at this point, I am anticipating a down year in 2023, and then I think the market will be starting to stabilize and start going on the upper trend again. And again, should you be worried? Not really, not unless you're selling in a very, very short time frame. And if you bought at the peak in April and trying to sell now, yeah, that's going to cause some problems. But if you bought in April and you're not going to sell for a few years, don't worry about that yet. Only time will tell what is really going to happen with the Halifax real estate market. But I do think that for the second time in 43 years, next year we are going to be down year over year in terms of the average price point in Halifax. If you made it this far, I really hope this video helped put some context into all the media you're seeing out there and all the articles you're seeing out there, and the market's crashing, the market's tanking, and all this. Well, it is coming back to reality, but I wouldn't call it a crash just yet. We're still up almost 18% as a whole on average since this time last year. But I really hope that this helped put this into context for you. And if you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to drop a comment below, or you can book a call with me anytime in my Calendly link as well in the description below here. And if you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button, because that'll help get this out to more people who may be interested in hearing about the Halifax real estate market. And if you don't want to miss any of my future content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel as well. And until next time, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your support, and have a great day.